Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today with Ross Mollison, who is the founder and basically impresario extraordinaire of SpiegelWorld. Now, what's SpiegelWorld? Well, we're going to find out all about that, but it is incredible shows in Vegas. I've been lucky enough to seen a few of them, and they have one now in Atlantic City too. And we're going to find out about Spiegel World and all the things that it does because I think it's a great option for your clients who come out here. You can book your groups in there, and it's a great entertainment. We're going to find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Let's talk a little bit about Spiegel World. Give us a little history about how Spiegel World began. How did it start, and what your background is? How did you get into it?
Yeah, well, SpiegelWorld started in New York in 2006, and we started on Pier 17, which is down on the East River, overlooking Dumbo, and you look down from there to the Statue of Liberty. And we built this old Spiegel tent, 100-year-old structure down there, and did shows in it. And it was an enormous hit right from the get-go. And so it seemed like the natural extension from launching in New York to go to the American capital of entertainment, Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And we went down there in 2011, with our production of Absinthe, and opened at Caesar's Palace some 13, nearly 14 years ago, and created this incredible hit at Caesars, and people have been loving it down there ever since.
Yeah, and I told you I think I've seen it two or three times, and I always tell my friends to go see it because it is a circus, but there's a lot more to it, right?
Right, and I mean that's exactly the way we position and produce everything that we do. Is we're trying to create a fantastically fun environment for adults. It's a place to go. If you say in America, if you say adult entertainment, people get the wrong idea. But I don't mean adult entertainment. I mean,
Yeah.
this is circus with a real edge to it. It's really very comedy based, and it's all oriented around having a great night out. And you go to Vegas, you want to forget about everything. You want to just blow your mind and have a fun time. Absinthe, Atomic Saloon, or disco show, the perfect places to go.
Well, those are the things that you expanded after Absinthe, and
Right.
I will say this is that Absinthe, I always tell people definitely go, but unless you don't care if you're made fun of or not, don't sit in the front row.
Well, and unfortunately for us, there are a lot of people who do like that experience, and there are other people who don't, so they don't have to sit in the front row. But yeah, it depends how involved you want to get.
Well, there's a very good travel advisor, Paul Largay, who sat in the front row, and he absolutely loved it. So he was here
Yeah.
during the Virtuoso conference once, and they just I've sent my kids. My kids are not that kids anymore in their 30s, and they loved it too. So everybody kind of liked this. Now, so that's been running for how long now?
It's coming on to 14 years on April 1st next year.
Wow. It seems like yesterday when I first heard about it. Now, what is your background? How did you get involved in this in the beginning with?
Well, I grew up going to the circus a lot in Australia. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and my neighbours knew everybody in the circus, so I went to every circus that came to town. And when I finished college, I really wanted to work in the circus, so I got out and got involved. It was promoting the Moscow Circus, an Australian company called Circus Oz. Ultimately, I ended up working with Cirque du Soleil, and I was a promoter promoting Cirque du Soleil in Australia and New Zealand, doing marketing and publicity for all their shows that came to Australia. And I learned so much from Cirque du Soleil when they first came to Australia, and then I started producing shows in America and putting shows on, and decided that, it was time to do something new in circus. Mm-hmm. And as the other companies were getting bigger and bigger, and Ringling were arena scale, and Cirque were going to arenas, I said, well, what if we go the other way? What if we make the venues smaller? And instead of having a 30, 40-foot stage, what if we had just a 9-foot stage? And so we created a really intimate, small format circus idea, which was all centered around comedy, which was, of course, the birth of our company with Absent.
Right. Now, so you did the initial show, it was in New York, and then you moved the whole thing to Vegas, and now it's pretty much permanent structure. If you go to Caesars and right in front of where I am right now, you'll see a pretty it looks like a tent, but it is a permanent kind of theater there. And
Right.
that's where you started. Now, where have you expanded after that? What came next? Was it Atomic Saloon was your next show?
No, our next show in Vegas was called Vegas Nocturne, and we built
Okay.
a restaurant idea called Rose Rabbit Lie, which we did at the Cosmopolitan, which had Vegas Nocturne as a show and Rose Rabbit Lie as a restaurant. And it was really, really, this is in 2013.
Okay.
And we had, we had bars and we had performances going from, like 6 p.m. through to 2 a.m. the next morning. Really, really ambitious. And that lasted for about 6 or 7 months, but it was really costing us a lot to operate. And so then we moved on. We produced a show called Empire, which we toured, started in New York City, in Times Square, in fact.
Wow.
It's the only show that I've been able to discover under canvas, a circus under canvas in Times Square in New York City.
In Times Square, yeah. I mean, I've seen it, maybe up in Lincoln Center and things like that, but not in Times Square, yeah.
No, so that was really, really fun. And then that ended up touring to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all over the place, which was really fun. We went to Japan with that show, put it on in Tokyo. And then after that, we did Atomic Saloon show. We had another show called Opium. We went back to the Cosmopolitan. We produced a show there called Opium, which played there for about 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And then we started launching our restaurants. So we got Atomic Saloon going at the Venetian, and then we launched Super Frico.
Yeah, I've been to Super Frico, but we'll go to another venue that we haven't talked about yet, Caesars in Atlantic City on the boardwalk, and I've seen Hook, right?
Right.
Is a wonderful show, and the restaurant is right in front of it, and it really is a wonderful, it's a different kind of boardwalk experience on Atlantic City.
Well, and it references the history of Atlantic City,
right?
With the horse dive bar and with all the lobsters, because there used to be the world's biggest restaurant there called Hackney's, which was a big lobster restaurant.
Right.
And all the servers would come out dressed as lobsters once a year. And so we have people dressed as lobsters, all sorts of crazy stuff. But I really love the boardwalk. I really, people don't believe me when I say I really have an enormous affection for Atlantic City. It's been incredibly hard to launch there. But every year it just keeps getting a little better. Right. And the venue we built there, it's on the site of the former Warner Theatre, which was built in 1929. It was the wonder theatre of the world. It was a 4,000-seat picture palace built by the Warner Brothers, and in 29. And it was around until the 70s or 80s when it was pulled down. But we actually have the facade of that theatre, still the original facade, which is the facade on the boardwalk. So super excited about Atlantic City. It's great for me because I live in New York. I can go down there and see it whenever I want. And and then, that's got Super Frico there. And Super Frico, our restaurant in Vegas, has just been an enormous hit for us.
Wow.
And people just love the sense of fun. And
that's at the entrance. That's an Atomic Saloon. That's around.
No, that's at the Cosmopolitan now.
That's in the Cosmopolitan. I got to remember these venues. You're kind of all over Las Vegas here. That's because,
yeah, we've got a few.
Yeah, but then
if you go to our website, it explains it all very clearly.
Okay, I will go on the website, and I did. I'm just gonna now. Tell me a little bit about Atomic Saloon, because that show I have not seen, and actually I am going to see it tonight.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to seeing it. We launched that show in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And we put it on stage, and from the first show, it was sold out. And then it sold every ticket. And we played that for a month just to get the show ready for Vegas before we brought it in. Then we transferred to Vegas, and it was just on fire. And then COVID closed it. It was closed for about 6 or 7 months during COVID. And then it's come back and it's now just better than ever. And so many of the original cast are in it. They're some of the most talented people I've ever worked with in my life. And it's directed by an English comedy director, Cal McChrystal. He's worked all over the world, worked on everything from, James Corbin on Broadway to Paddington movies and things like that. It's hilarious and hilariously risque. It may not be for your grandma, but it's for everybody. And that's what I say to a lot of people. Our shows aren't for everyone. Unfortunately, we do have the internet, and people can go on and read about it and say, "Yep, that is what I want to see," or "No, I prefer to go and see Adele. That's more my speed." I get it.
I kind of was going to ask you, because I mean you're kind of like the anti Cirque du Soleil. Not that there's anything wrong with Cirque du Soleil, but you got an edge to your shows, and they are very different, and they're for a different crowd. But we are in Vegas, so you have to have
well, and nobody's been more successful in Vegas than Cirque du Soleil. And I as I said before, I learned that the knee of that company, a lot of what I put into practice. They're an incredible company, but we're very, very different. And we're producing a lot of new shows and moving things in a new direction. Very, very different from what Cirque are. And I urge people go and see Cirque du Soleil if that's what they're into.
No, it is, but I do urge people to see both, because they're amazing, very, very different, and very unique. Now, you have your newest show out here is Disco Show, right?
Correct, yeah. Disco Show, which is at 3535 Las Vegas Boulevard, just across the road from Caesar's Palace. You enter in 99 Prince, which is a subway bar. So if you can imagine a New York subway station, and the kind of bodega down there on the subway platform, except it's full of booze. You can get incredible cocktails there.
Right. And
cocktails are all based on the best cocktails from New York's best mixologists. So, we've got our own Nico Novik created one cocktail, but so is there a cocktail that Jim Meehan created from PDT, and there's one that Sasha Petras created from Milk and Honey. And so you can go in there and taste these incredible cocktails. Once you got off the subway train, you end up in the Glitter Loft, which is where a guy called David Mancuso pretty much launched disco in New York back in the early 70s.
Wow.
From there, there's a number of decisions you got to make. You can go into our own diner, Diner Ross, which is just an incredible restaurant. It's just fantastic. You have to go to this restaurant if you go to Vegas. It is called a diner, but the food is absolutely restaurant, delicious. Our burger, I think, will become the best burger in Vegas before in no time. But we have so many different takes on popovers. Just a plate of ham and cheese, which is the best plate of ham and cheese you've ever had in your life. Everything at Diner Ross is absolutely fantastic.
So that's your kind of dining complex there with
absolutely, with 3 bars, and then we have Disco Show, which is in its own venue. There's never been a venue built like this before. The whole floor is LED, all the walls are screens, and you just go and get lost in 1970s New York and relive that whole spirit. But I'd also say it also ends up in a big party, which is, disco for 2024. And, let's face it, you go to Vegas to get your blood pumping, to go out and have some fun. And there's nothing better than having our Finnish dance instructor, Ake Blomqvist, teach you some disco moves and just watch the whole audience go crazy together.
Wow, it sounds right. I should stop by there. I'm heading down to Atomic Saloon at the Venetian, but I'm here for a couple of nights, so maybe I'll venture over and take a look.
Go check that out. And James, here's the interesting thing about our shows, especially from the travel perspective, is the idea is that you can create an itinerary. So our restaurants are all integrated with our booking system for our tickets. So, that's the greatest problem people have is oh my God, if I go and see this show here, how am I going to make it across to that
I
restaurant?
know that kind of pressure, right?
And it's a big problem. But with us, you can book your show and then book into your restaurant, and we'll make sure you get there. And if you're taking too long, we'll say we'll come back and have your dessert afterwards. We'll hold your seat for you. We'll make sure you have a fantastic time there. And then we've also got these incredible bars. Our bar, the Ski Lodge. Now, this one is hard to get into. Like, it's really, really packed, but that's at the Cosmopolitan. But our bars, again, all take on a lot of fun, and they're just a different way of going out and enjoying yourself.
Absolutely. Now, we talked a little bit about your other venue in Atlantic City with Hook. Where else beyond Vegas are you now located, or are you already or are you planning?
Yeah, we've been working on New Orleans for some time now.
Oh, great!
And we're looking at opening a venue and a show in New Orleans, which I think I've just, I just whenever Caesars call up and say, "Oh, we need you to come to New Orleans," I say, "I'm halfway to the airport." Like, I cannot. I just love that city, man.
So do I.
It's perfect for us. It's any season, any enormous tourism city like that is just perfect for us. But it's got a culture that's so rich, but it doesn't have a permanent show down there. So to have a permanent show and a fantastic restaurant where people can go out and enjoy themselves, I think will be a massive hit for that city.
And are you working with Caesars on that one too? Because I know Caesars is in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Caesars, which also own Harrah's, have just relaunched Harrah's in New Orleans as Caesars down there.
Right.
And they've spent a ton of money, built a new hotel tower. They've built a Nobu hotel. Mm-hmm. And they've got a Nobu restaurant going in there. And it's just so many great facilities there. I just think it's a great kind of hub to enjoy your whole Bourbon. It's a one end of Bourbon Street. Surrounding it are a ton of 5-star hotels, like from the Four Seasons and other ones around there. And then the other great thing about New Orleans is the plethora, a good word I find, plethora, of, you don't hear it often, plethora of boutique hotels that have opened there. And every time I go, I try a different one, like Maison de la Luz. There's one called Peter and Paul set in an old church.
Yes, I've heard of that one.
There's one, St. Vincent. It's gorgeous, just fantastic. The food scene there, there's a restaurant down there called Pesh, just fantastic. There's another one called Commander. If you can get a reservation there, that's like amazing. So I love the food. The bar scene's great. They do Tales of the Cocktail, which we do down there. And I'm in love with New Orleans. I could go live there tomorrow.
Well, so that looks like you're where you're going to be focused on next, and that's
absolutely.
Great. Now we go out to about 127,000 travel advisors who are booking groups, who are booking their high-end clients. And do you work with travel advisors on in that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. We have a whole sales department specially designed to work with whomever, from large groups to small groups. Right. And the whole thing for us is doing bespoke events, whether it's a buyout of a venue or whether it's doing a cocktail explosion or a hot seafood tower at one of our restaurants, or the tableside mozzarella for a group of people, or we've got tons of little PDR spaces that are really, really kooky and fun, PDR, private dining room spaces. More than just a table in a room, where you can just go and play and have fun and then have incredible hospitality. And, our beverage director, Nico Novak, is just, our cocktails are the best. I am a great lover of the cocktail industry. And I started with Sasha Petrask in New York, our first ever night in New York. I used to live just above where Milk and Honey was, which was the greatest bar ever in America.
I've been there in the old days, yeah.
It was impossible to get in, but I lived upstairs. I knew Sasha very well. And he came down and did an absinthe cocktail for our opening night in 2006. And it was just incredible. So I've always wanted really, really high-end, fantastic cocktails, but also a lot of fun.
Well, then I gather that was the inspiration for the show here, Absinthe, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you take a sip of absinthe and you walk out at the end and you just, did I hallucinate? Where the hell was I? For the
Well,
last hour and a half.
it's a good analogy because that show, I walked out, I said, did I hallucinate or was that really happened? And it was amazing. And I liked it. So I couldn't figure it out. So I had to go back. So I had to
Fantastic.
go the
Well,
second time.
come back anytime. And, there's contacts on our website for the travel industry to get in and talk to our sales team and, anything we can do. Because the thing about Vegas, if people come to Vegas, they get there, they land, you can see their eyes are wide with excitement. This is not going to a day spa, in a nice, relaxed, like Big Sur or something. This is like, we're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
And they want to have that Vegas experience. And that's what I and my company and everyone who works with me wants to deliver. It's like, we want you to feel like you're in the hangover, but not getting your teeth knocked out.
Well, it sounds like you could spend a few days just going to your shows and your bars and restaurants here in Vegas.
I'd recommend it.
Of course, yeah. Now the website is www.spiegelworld.com, I recall.
Yep.
And that's where you can find everything about that. So I got to tell you, these are great shows. I'm going to sample a few more of them. I've been to a few. I have not been to the bars yet. Now I got to go to the bars and the restaurants. And you can get your clients in this, and they're going to have a heck of a time. Vegas is wonderful, and SpiegelWorld's making it even better. And if you find yourself like in Atlantic City, go to Hook, absolutely. And now maybe next time you're down in New Orleans, try out the SpiegelWorld down there when it comes. Again, Ross, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.